Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Fallen London. Today we're carrying on with the Fallen London serial story, Evolution, and we are currently at Port Cecil, and we need to talk to the naturalist on the shore. You find him some hours after you dock, standing alone in a tidal pool. He is looking across the sea, bathed in pale light from the imposter moon, and the water around him is bright with pulsating colours. Pinks and purples lap against his waist. Greens and blues softly shimmer. Tentacles glow just below the surface, trailing from phosphorescent jellyfish. There must be hundreds teeming in the pool. We shall speak with him. Now that you've arrived at Port Cecil, what are his plans? Oh, I didn't see you there. My thoughts were somewhere else. His voice has an edge, newly honed by the attack at Z. His gaze cuts into the distance. Sometimes I forget what it really means to die. I need to forget, otherwise I'd be too scared to take a single step. Then I remember, and I'm useless, terrified. So I pretend that I'm not. I pretend that I'm confident, that I have control. But I don't want to pretend anymore. I want to live at least one day without constantly lying to myself. When he turns to you, his focus burns like sunlight pointed through a glass. Do you have the money from the Dillman Club? We're going to need it. Let's discuss the funding. The Youthful Naturalist claims that his research cannot advance without money. The Iron and Misery Company oversees Port Cecil. We need to bribe them. If word about our research here makes its way up the chain, we're finished. And since the Dillman Club is financing the bribe, they should also be invested in maintaining discretion, and in applying their considerable influence, if push comes to shove. Hopefully, it won't. That's what we'll be spending every penny to prevent. He idly extends his hands, running them along the water's surface. Phosphorescent trails develop as the jellyfish follow him, and he draws glowing sigils on the Z. Then we can continue our research and also finish it. We don't have the luxury of time. Well, how to advance science? The Youthful Naturalist makes himself at home in Port Cecil. He mingles with the miners, drinking with them, but always politely refusing to gamble. He asks innocent questions about the coral, citing an interest in the town's new and most edifying industry. He doesn't ask about the Iron and Misery Company directly, but he overhears certain things when one loiters around certain crowds, and these things may sometimes prove useful. Oh dear. There's a few things here that I don't have access to. Well, let's consider the first steps. Where to start on this island of toil and coral? We need to become part of the social fabric, says the Youthful Naturalist. The kind of investigations I need to do, we can't complete while sneaking around. Visit the Poisoned Pawn to establish a foothold in Port Cecil. Okay. The Poisoned Pawn is unique in the ramshackle metastasis of Port Cecil. A shabby holdout of the old imperial style, jostling for prominence amongst the upstart businesses of the Scintillact boom. Whereas the newer buildings begin their rapid slump into collapse even before they finish construction, the Poisoned Pawn has conducted its own incremental promenade into disrepair, with something approaching stateliness. A weathered sign above the lintel declares it a private members' chess club. It's almost entirely empty. Well, let's nose around the place. It is striking, even in its shabbiness. If it's in a sorry state, it merely matches the rest of Port Cecil's chaos. Floorboards creak worryingly underfoot. Moonish light flickers through fist-sized holes in the crown moulding. The pieces of the chess sets that sit at every table are wildly mismatched in size and polish. The bar is very obviously just a piece of salt-blackened, Z-smoothed driftwood. And yet, every chess set does boast a full complement of pieces. The stilts suspending the structure above the Z are reassuringly sturdy. It is not beholden to the rationing policies of the Iron and Misery mess halls, dappled in silver light, full of miners and dockers and lampcats. It could be almost regal. In the right light, there is a certain faded majesty. "I told you already, I will not sell to you brutes." A hunched old woman, bristling with tarnished coral polyps, spits invective from behind an array of chessboards on the bar. Bright eyes take your measure, buried deep within a dramatically sagging face. Old age's inevitable concessions to gravity have only been hurried by her heavy coral growths. Her tone softens as she realizes who you are, or who you are not. "Ah, sorry, thought you were one of those Iron and Misery thugs." Well, let's introduce ourselves to the Poison Pawn's proprietor. She has gone back to her collected chessboards with aggravated reluctance. It looks like she could use the distraction. "If you're here for a membership, I'm afraid I can't help you." The floorboards creak like a sinking ship as the disillusioned Grandmaster shuffles around. "There's no other members to play. Even I seem to have lost the knack." The disillusioned Grandmaster is entirely dwarfed by her empty establishment. She is engaged in a checkerboard warfare with herself across 3 different boards. Each appears to be mired in a messy, drawn-out middle game. Her hand hovers listlessly over each board in turn, searching for a clarity she cannot find. "Well, let's ask about those brutes she mentioned. She mistook you for somebody from the Iron and Misery. Somebody who wanted to purchase the establishment. What's the story there?" "They could probably make me sell." The expansive wave of her hand, that "they" encompasses anyone and everyone not born to the principles. Investors from the Carnet, lackeys from Iron and Misery, any number of private enterprises keen to profit from those keen to make profit. Or drive me out, but damn it, I'll make them fight for every inch. I'll drag out the endgame until they wish they'd never started playing. She flashes the grim smile of a patient player who has transmuted many a stalemate in a win. The Poisoned Pawn languishes amid Port Cecil's hubbub, a pencil sketch from a previous age. Its intellect is making the factories rich. A sneer contorts one of the disillusioned Grandmaster's silver growths. But for everybody else, there's no money in mining. Selling stuff to miners, though, that's where the profit lies. Space is at a premium. Every outsider with echoes to their name wants to buy this place, to turn it into a general store or drinking hole. Parasites hitched to the backs of parasites until the lifeblood of Port Cecil runs dry. Her half-obscured eyes glitter with a fierce fire. So why not just sell? She runs a chess club with no members. Port Cecil is changing, however reluctant she is to acknowledge it. Why not just cut her losses and leave? This is my home. You should have seen this place in its prime. Through the principles, we could see the game of creation unfolding. The silver splotches shimmer wistfully. The pace of the game and the slow growths of the scintillate, the long pulses of thought and light, all the rules and moves that I understood. The prospectors, the miners, the masters, even that plague of cats. None of them see that this, he gestures at the chessboard, is the heart of the place. Chess was the heart of this place, the disillusioned Grandmaster slumps. I'm not sure it has a heart anymore. Perhaps you're right. The power is ebbing from the pieces, from the coral. I don't belong here anymore, but I will not leave my legacy to blood-sucking neophyte who doesn't know their Sicilian from their Caracan. I was warned about this. I was warned that my player of chess quality is going to be called into action here, and I don't actually have a player of chess. Hang on. Can I change my outfit? I've got to have something that has player of chess on it, surely. A player of chess. Wonderful. That is a negative player of chess. Thank you, Sugar Plum. I'm glad you're here. That's really helpful. Okay. Sugar Plum is just a curse, I'm telling you. We also have a name in F.F. Gebrandt's address book. We got that from the Prelapsarian Museum. And these sun-seared silken gloves, I've got no idea where I got them from. White as the beaches of Asterval. These gossamer light adornments remember the warmth of the sun. Perfect for a foggy London season. And that's upped us to 2. I'm not gonna, that's not brilliant, but it's the best I can do. A 20% chance of success, huh? Consider reading. What's this? The principles evolved over time. They've changed shape and composition, and their deeper essences have changed too. Now they're coral, of course, but they were a higher being. Their transformation was structural, and luckily their structure is enormous. Easy to crawl around and examine. I want to find spots where their essences are still concentrated. He rummages through the numerous volumes, files and maps he has lugged all the way from London. Finally, he pulls out the structure of distribution of coral reefs and brandishes it like a battle plan. I have bookmarks, he says. I don't suppose just playing chess will teach me how to play chess. Chess runs like a current underneath the chaos of the mining boom. The remaining locals play religiously, with pieces carved from coral. Be careful. Nope. Your pieces surrender their far-flung futures and distant destinies at your touch. This one will commune with deep and Cecil powers. This one will steal death from the jaws of life. This one's skull shows stark beneath fading skin and rails against their fate. This one will wake up one day and wonder. You brush aside these misfortunes, focused on the pieces beneath. You maneuver them towards convergence, a bored state in which they will always have been what they are destined to be. Reluctantly, inevitably, your opponent tips his kin in resignation. I'm going to see what these actually do. I mean, maybe one of them will be helpful, but I have a funny feeling I'm going to have to go back to London and train up my player of chess. And I think I was also told monstrous anatomy. But let's wander Port Cecil's heights and depths first. Better watch your step. The town's warren of fraying bridges and creaking boardwalks has claimed many an incautious visitor. Go carefully. Sea stories. I need these. Maybe I will grind out some sea stories. Wait, I get 4 at a time? Oh, that could take a while. From a rare, sturdy rooftop, with an unobscured view of the Zee, you observe the chaos of ships that throng Port Cecil's waters. Tugs and supply barges vie for moorings, with prospectors, steamers and Admiralty frigates, even a Shellonet hunting skiff. Boats fly the colours of London and the Carnet. From your vantage point, it seems that the entire Neath is here to contest the Principal's silver payload. What about the Guild Lampcats? Port Cecil is crawling with the things. Blank-eyed cats with gills and slick black fur, lit in queasy green by lures that bob from their heads. What are they after? The black, jewelled eyes of the Lampcats discomfort the miners, but their alien natures are not only barrier to harmony. As you surveil them from a distance, it becomes clear that the Lampcats threaten the profitability of the whole Port Cecil venture. They twine around lambent outcroppings of coral, rubbing against them with whiskered cheeks, licking them with rough little tongues, purple like bruises. Where the lamp cats focus their efforts, the coral slumps coaxed into Z-foam and lapped dutifully up. The shoal of lamp cats is consuming the treasured scintillact, as a London mog might a bowl of cream. Also, lamp cats eat scintillact. I had no idea. We can ask around town about the scintillact refinery. The Iron and Misery Company clarifying station squats atop Port Cecil's highest cliff like a soot-blackened spur castle, pouring grey fumes across the Z. Access is strictly prohibited. Used to be the reef itself would rise up against thieves, but the principals ain't what they were. A chess addict performs an illegal move with her root, as if in demonstration. It twinkles weakly. Happened all at once. One day, someone breaks off some coral without getting their eyes all burned out. The next, London's moors opens on our doorstep. The bitterness is palpable. So why haven't they done anything? What could we do? She wails. They don't even know the rules of the game. The refinery looms, a piece too big for the board. And we have one last thing here, I think. Was it? Oh no, investigated the imposter moon. I only have a 10% chance to succeed here. Let's see what happens. The inexorable pull is the source of Port Cecil's localized tides. It's not the moon. That would be absurd. But what is it? I failed. The blue-silver gleam of the imposter moon is not static, but engaged in an imperceptible dance of approach and retreat. As it descends from the roof, Port Cecil's restless waters rise, drawn to meet its argent gaze. When it retreats, so too do the tides. The oldest locals treat it with reverence, believing it the light of the principles chipped free from its coral body. For miners and prospectors, its local tides are nothing but an inconvenience, putting watery constraints on their profits. Neither have any real insight into its true nature, only that it appears to be here to stay. And I can cast my eyes over the tide pools. They glitter like a distant starfield across a Z-slick expanse of rock. Beneath the beckoning light of the imposter moon, the shining body of the principles of coral is being chased beyond the waterline. The old peace of Port Cecil has been transformed by the push and pull of tide and industry. Is there profit to be had here? We might make a difference in this greedy tug-of-war. Activities in the tide pools will become available once you've established a foothold in Port Cecil, which I assume is that chess game. Well, since there's nothing in Port Cecil that will let me raise my player of chess quality past what it is, I guess we're just going to do it. I think we will succeed even if we fail, so it could be worse. Success would have just given us a discount, and it's very expensive. And I don't exactly have many of these things. Oh my god, I succeeded! I didn't see that coming. This is not a conflict, a negotiation, a slow dance of offer and counter-offer, encoded in the interplay between knight and root, bishop and pawn. She is a fearsome player. So are you. You catch her in masterful forks, forcing her to cede certain conditions. She will leave you with contacts, supplies, a reputation, even a discount. She catches you in her own snares too. The chess sets must remain. You will not restrict your clientele. You will not take up the pick yourself. No kin has toppled when she extends a hand across the bar. Draw. You have an accord. The poisoned pawn is yours. So, we got a discount on the moon pearls. We got a discount on the Z stories. Yeah, we just got a slight discount on everything. I did not expect to pass that check. Okay, is that one of the things we needed for the scientist? I believe it was. Now all we need is cartographic comprehension, which we apparently already have at... Oh no, we have none. Well, can I consider bribery? Your research is practical, and nothing is more practical than money. You cannot simply approach the miners with a jingling bag. They might accept it, but some would doubtless talk anyway. More finesse is required. Relationships must be cultivated. You must nurture their trust before it will bear appropriately cooperative fruit. Secrecy on our part isn't enough, explains the Youthful Naturalist. We'll need to work out in the open to study the principles, and we don't want anyone asking questions. So butter them up. Spread it thick. With our funding, the grease ought to glow. When the miners have successfully excavated a large scintillact payload and their spirits are high, they will be most amenable to bribery. Prepare for low tide and keep the lab cats at bay. Okay. High tide in the poisoned pawn, is this what I'm looking for here? The cracked paint and creaky boards are lost behind a crowd of customers. Ashen-faced miners nurse drinks around hushed tables. Coral-encrusted locals wage slow war over chessboards. Bleary-eyed dock workers down pints between jobs, and the sinuous lamp cats go anywhere they please, affixing all alike with their blank, abyssal stare. The tides of Port Cecil are rising. Brackish water is gushing into the scintillact pits. Now is the time for the miners and lamp cats to rest, to gather their strength. Options here will help either the miners or the lamp cats to prepare for low tide. When Port Cecil scintillact will be accessible again, I guess I should help the miners, huh? We can either lead the lamp cats in a chess lesson. Chess guides the currents of Port Cecil. The lamp cats must learn its symbols, its geometry, its slow rhythms of give and take. We can provide the lamp cats with somewhere to rest. The back room is warm, riddled with damp, and the hole in the roof permits a beam of false moonlight, perfect for conditions for an aquatic feline. We can instruct the lamp cats in the coral calcification of the locals. The cat's fluid felinity is at odds with the bright incrustations of scintillact. But the lamp cats have been changed before, and they may be changed again. But here are the ones we're looking for, I think. Provision the miners with ropes and harnesses. In the organic morass of the tide pools, the miners must cling to the coral like limpets. Ropes fray, concentrations waver. Many unfortunate workers fall into the Z of the razored rocks below. We can direct the miners towards a promising dig site if the tales of the old grandmasters are to be believed. Coral lies thickest where the great scintillact chess pieces of the principles fell. Or we can use our knowledge of the red science to improve the miner's pump. Even when the tide recedes, it is impossible for the miners to work until the tide pools are drained, and their pumps are notoriously unreliable. Let's just go with the direct the miners towards a promising dig site, and I'll spend a confident smile to ensure a second chance here. 67%. We failed. Let's just try that again. Hey, look, we won. The stories say that the principles shifted with the pieces of the chessboard. You recount the moves of old games to the miners, pointing out the corresponding landmarks. Over there is Bishop's Rest, where Mitre fell victim to a red paw's pin. That, near the shore, is Knight's Folly, where a black knight rode into a white rook's roots gambit. In return, the miners regale you with stories of their previous labours across the Z, the poor conditions, the spore sicknesses of the fungal stations, the calcified regrets of station... Quiet! The loose-lipped miner is shushed by 6 voices at once. Interesting. The waters are rising around Port Cecil. What do I get if I just provide the miners with ropes and harnesses? The calibre of the safety equipment provided by Iron and Misery would border on the criminal. If it wasn't completely in line with their work agreements, you outfit the work team with sturdy hemp and gleaming buckles, warding them once more against a painful dashing against the coral, or an ill-fated audience with the Fathom King. Their gratitude is manifested in heaped handfuls of pearls that iridesce under the wan light of the imposter moon. "They fall into the pits from up there," says the perspiring pitman, pointing vaguely upwards. "Bossmen don't want 'em, but maybe you can use 'em." That's not bad, 200 moon pass. I'm going to keep just making this go up. I assume eventually the tide is going to come in, but let's see if we can just do the dig site a few times. The miners are steeling themselves for their next shift. The siren blares across the bay. Workers rouse from their repose. The mines are operational. Okay, here we go. Activity for today is focused on a tide pool near the waterline that promises a hefty payload of scintillact. A series of yawning, rough-faced pits trail up to it. Great angular cuts hewn into the open mines like a giant's staircase. Coral formations shimmer weakly ahead of the miners' relentless push towards the water. The half-drowned and diminishing remains of the silver substance that once bathed the principles in light. The light of the imposter moon is dim and distant. The Z has receded to its usual depths. The mines are accessible. Both the miners and the lamp cats will make progress as the tide comes in. Actions here may impede one faction or the other. Well, I guess we need to impede the lamp cats. Check the lay of the land. How are things progressing? Out where the coral gleams. Who is making their fortune and who is faring poorly? The miner work teams are fighting against the jagged moor of the coral and making very little headway. Meanwhile, the lamp cats are having little luck in finding scintillact that fulfills their opaque requirements. The tide whispers, always approaching, never out of sight. Oh god, we have so many options here. We can distract the lamp cats with the local wildlife. All manner of slimy critters make the tide pools their home, scuttling and hopping across the coral. Ripe pickings for the lamp cats. This will slow down the cat's progress. We can deploy advanced cat wrangling techniques. When confronted with a cozy box, no cat can resist curling up inside it. The task for now, then, is working out what lamp cats find cozy. And then these ones will slow down the miner's progress. Or we could just steal some scintillact for ourselves. Let's go... Can I get my watchful up high enough? What is my watchful outfit? Surely I have better outfit than that for watchful. There we go, that's a little better. That is a little better indeed. Let's see if we can deploy some advanced cat wrangling techniques. Oh god, we failed. The lamp cats cannot have failed to notice the cozy sanctuaries you have arranged for them around the lip of their tide pool, but they do not let their shield of feline disinterest drop for a moment. Their hater is made yet more cutting by the arrogant set and dismissive ochre of their Elysium, as they make a great show of not curling up in your boxes. In the end, their performance of independence costs them almost as much time as curling up might have done. Almost, but not quite. They are very smug about this, indeed. Okay. Can I try that again and succeed this time? That would be nice. There we go. The pallets that the miners use to transport scintillact just so happen to be precisely the size of a curled up lamp cat. You pack them with cushions made from woven kelp and stuffed with algae, and impromptu driftwood scratching posts, comforts to appeal to their hybrid natures. All you need to do is set the boxes down somewhere within sight of the lamp cats, walk away and feign disinterest. Soon enough, the tide pools are thrumming with the contented burble of purring lamp cats. Some are curled in oil slick puddles, some are languidly mauling their scratching posts. None are at work in the pools. Can we see what the lay of the land is now? Carts are slowly being filled with scintillact, drawn from the reef by the miners' efforts. They may yet meet their quota. Meanwhile, the lamp cats are having little luck in finding Scintillate that fulfills their opaque requirements. Let's keep slowing down the cats. I want to distract the cats with the local wildlife just to see what happens. A ripple of predatory attention passes over the lamp cats as you corral some of the juicier looking local specimens towards them. Coal-black cats settle back on their haunches. A fist-sized beast with too many eyes croaks nervously. Nictitating membranes sweep across jeweled pelican eyes. Claws flex, gills flutter. All is still. A little betentacled thing breaks the spell, releasing the danger too late and attempting to wriggle jump away. The lamp cats flow into motion. An inky tide of tooth and claw descends. The Scintillate is all but forgotten in the chase. We gain some withered tentacles. How useful. Well, I will try keep doing the wrangling cat tactics. Oh, the shift will soon be over. We're almost there. Well, we failed, but it looks like the Z has claimed the mines. The pedigree of silver. The imposter moon hangs low and close, casting the land below its eye in moonish light. The imposter moon hangs low and close, casting the land below its eyrie in moonish light. Coursing inland to greet its gaze like a lover, the Z is swirling silver and rich purple with reef dust. The veins of Scintillate, those shimmering engines of desire, are submerged now, and any fools who dally here will find waters closing blackly overhead. There is just one more thing to do, out here, where the silver meets the Z. We can either travel back to port with the celebrating miners. The Scintillate miners have extracted an uncommonly large payload, and spirits are high as they return with it to port, Cecil. Or we can integrate ourselves with the miners. This is the perfect moment to employ your charming personality. Schmooze. You help the miners load Scintillate into their carts, motivated by nothing more than your wide-eyed amazement at their success, your own selfless nature, and the good impression you'll make by rolling up your sleeves. As the cargo trundles away to be hauled into the iron and misery clarifying plant atop the cliff, you migrate to the poisoned pawn to celebrate. Drinks on the house, Z shanties and dancing. You even teach them a new oath, pronounced at the top of your lungs. When you make a heartfelt speech, tears in your eyes, potentially inspired by liquor in your veins, about how motivational you find their company. There's never been such a hardy pack of scoundrels in the Neath. They're starting to like you. Oh yes, they're starting to like you a lot. A few more evenings like this, and they should be sympathetic to a trifling favour or two. We gained 15 Z stories, 2 favours of the docks, and we're developing a good reputation with the miners at Port Cecil. I have a funny feeling I need to do that again, though. Yeah, I think it needs to be 2. Okay. Let me just do that again. I feel I'm going to run out of actions before the end of this this particular episode, so I don't know what I'm going to do then. I guess we'll work it out when we get there. Here we are again, the pedigree of silver. Spread a little rusty gold around. Here it is. Invite the miners to celebrate at the poisoned pawn. Win their loyalty. Or buy it. It's going to cost me 10,000 pieces of rusty gold. The liberality with which you throw open the poisoned pawn cellar would be, frankly, ruinous if you had founded this business yourself and not brought it at its commercial twilight. You polish the bar with a rag, and the miners also throw open their hearts. Of course, you wouldn't mind loaning a dejected father a little something to purchase a birthday gift for his daughter. Iron and misery can be so frustratingly delinquent with wages. And this Z-scape by the aspiring artist, she found the time between shifts to paint this? It should be on the wall! This wall! You pay her triple her asking price. The youthful naturalist leans beside you at the bar, flirting with the burly surveyor and discussing the finer points of topographic map making with a passion that only enthusiasts can share. It's important, after all, for the miners to become familiar with the naturalist too. They shouldn't think twice when they see you both hauling equipment across the coral, but to take it in stride, because you both belong. Tonight, at least, you both do. Okay, well, we gained 100 romantic notions. We lost our 10,000 pieces of rusty gold. And I think that is one of the things we needed to do. Yes? Yes, okay. So now we need to consider gambling, I guess? The great heyday of chess has passed, but some locals still play. All of this coral is alive, says the youthful naturalist. One giant anatomy just waiting to be mapped, but we don't have enough time to do it ourselves. Luckily, the oldest locals know the principles of coral as intimately as their own chessboards, their own bodies. In many respects, the terrain is the same. Now that the game has fallen into disfavour, however, they require a little more inducement to play, especially against a foreign challenger. But you own the poisoned pawn, and inducements can be arranged. But before I play this chess game, I think this is where I'm going to end this episode. I'm running out of actions, and I've been recording for quite a while. So thank you very much for watching. Please like, subscribe, let me know what you think. Your comments are greatly appreciated. We'll be picking this up in the next episode. But as always, I'll see you next time.